How many of you are trying to solve a market problem? Okay. Well, the second ones are the lucky ones. And I'm speaking out of experience. I tried myself to invest in technologies and finding or exploring applications for them. And we failed badly. We lost a lot of money. And then, in other cases, we invested in companies trying to solve market problems. They sometimes can be even 20 years out. So don't think about the story of short-term, not hard tech. Because nowadays there are people, especially outside Europe, that are ready to invest in technologies that will have an applications 20 years from now. But they are talking about, they are investing in any technology that will solve that problem. They are not investing in a technology. My failure related to optical was in Milan, Middle that has technology from Polytechnic of Milan. We tried to expand the application of this technology from mirrors for telescopes into other fields, specifically production of optical components for steppers to produce EUV microchips. I guess all of you understand this kind of lingo. Another one was Planet Photonics, that is a spin-off of Trinity College Dublin. It was trying to, they invented technology to produce lasers using steppers. So steppers are made for chips. They were trying to make essentially laser on a chip. You, of course, must have heard about this thing, given these are all in optical fields. And then I also took over another fund that had two optical investments. One was Polatis, these optical switches in Massachusetts. And the last one that is more interesting, it was a company that was developing LED-based anti-fog lights. And this was a corporate spin-off. I will also mention corporate spin-offs because that's another myth. Corporate spin-offs is one of the biggest wrong myths that I'm still fighting today when I come to Italy where I'm advising on venture capital. Because large companies say, we have these research guys, they are having this nice project, we are not interested in developing them. The corollary is because there is a market, right? They are not finishing the phrase, right? Because we don't think there is a market to make money with them. So we let someone else to invest in them. They are not brave enough to admit that they haven't found a market big enough to justify this investment. Because this is the plain truth. 99% of the cases. You know, the other cases is where they're getting wrong. Okay, sometimes they're just making a mistake, but mostly corporate spin-offs, they don't work. When they think that there is a market, what they do, as in this case, they maintain the right to buy back the technology, because they believe there is a market. So the problem is that they're in a crisis, they don't have enough funds, so they try to make an agreement to find someone else. But if I am a company, believe there is a market, I'm not going to give away technology. I'm going to keep it. So corporate spin-offs is not the way to go. It's not very interesting. What is interesting is companies buying out technologies. And the Italian and the European companies have a very hard time in buying smaller companies and taking in technology from outside. That is exactly the contrary of American companies. Most of American companies, I'm saying most, not some, innovate mostly by acquisition. This is something unknown in Europe. Cisco, you probably know, hasn't developed practically anything in the last 20 years. They've only been buying. They're not afraid. If it's needed, they can pay 10 billion. If it's worth it, why not? Europe, like really rare case. One case in 100. So if I have to say something and it should be more, should be ready to invest more in technologies. And I had success in research with something much more simple, with a smaller startup that is investing quite far out in terms of time frame, and it is in software, because it requires lower capital. Doesn't mean that it's short term, sometimes it's quite long term. But very simply, we made an agreement with Polytechnic of Milan, and we triggered them very complicated problems to develop algorithms, but we knew that these algorithms would have an application in art tech, that is a new field, big data tech. You'll be surprised, some of these small companies, thanks to technology developments, they may use as much data as like 1/10 of all of CNR. The world has completely changed in the last 4 or 5 years. The amount of data that people are managing, and this is a big problem for research institutes, because today, people move so quickly, and also you as a researcher, you should know, like, it's amazing, these young people, they move so quickly, it's crazy. I mean, I have a company in China is here, for this big data. They use so much data, they use tools, they commercialize tools that have been developed like 6 months ago. Like, I was with this Chinese developer, I said, but I have to learn this new program. I spoke with the other enemy, but this guy doesn't know the program. He said, but this did not exist. It's been just invented. He said, but the product is commercial. He said, yes. It was invented 6 months ago, and our commercial product today, it's not commercial, in the field, it's not commercial, is made with a database invented 6 months ago. But because these people are quick on their feet, they are trying to solve the problem, and they got whatever they can find to solve the problem. And if it is something they've never seen before, they are ready to change, ready to innovate. So also in your research, if you start from a technology, even if you are thinking about a need, if you follow the technology, you risk that your technology becomes surpassed or not right. If you start from the need, you will always be in the right spot, because you may change technology. That's all.
Thank you. Now, I'm very...
Sorry, one thing I have to say that it was Professor Bianchi that mentioned needs, and I have to recognize exactly, I have to give credit to the person.
I'm very curious to know the point of view of Dr. Bank, of a big company, but also of a person whose work is to introduce new processes.
Thank you, everyone. I'm pleased to be here. I want to start out saying that the rest of the team here is very different from me. They have bigger plans, and they're trying to solve bigger problems. Whereas I have a smaller picture, yet I'm hoping to have from the smaller picture, achieve a bigger picture, and from the bigger picture, I want to solve a bigger problem. I'm a little bit, at the same time, I'm also a little bit more in an advantageous position, because I'm born in India, I worked in Asia for 6+ years, I'm an American, I worked with the top companies that nearly went bankrupt and turned around. So I really can share something, what I think might make a difference, might. I see really 2 problems. If I say something a little bit brash, please forgive me, that's just an American way. I mean that too long. Yes. I see 2 problems in Europe. I see, and I've been in Europe only for about a year. I work for Osram, in Treviso, and I might lose you when I'm speaking. The first problem is Europe is driven a lot by academia. America is not driven by academia, it's driven by industry. So what is the result? You have a lot of inventions, tons of inventions, very little innovation. In fact, I think Europe is starting with the word innovation quite late. I graduated from US, from university. My thesis was actually innovation. I didn't do a lot of inventions, but I was able to innovate, and they let me graduate very fast. So what I'm saying is, Europe is embracing innovation, but you are fundamentally driven with academia, and you're producing a lot of inventions, so there needs to be a mindset change or a major change. But let me just point out to you the problems, and let these folks worry about how to fix the problem. So that's the first problem. The second problem is you have a problem also with industry. Why? I explain to you. I'm going to use the Osram language. We make three kinds of products, M1, M2, M3. M1 is super sophisticated product. You sell only tens and hundreds. M2, yeah, I can sell 1,000, 10,000, but M3 is millions and millions. In Europe, you're also driven by, stay with that thought, M1, M2, M3. Because you're a university and you have a lot of inventions, you have a lot of standardization also that's coming up. So the invention leads to needs for standardization, and there is everybody saying so many things. There's a pile of standardization. So look what happens. If I'm a company and I want to make M1, M2, M3 product, the M3 product is super low cost. You have to make in billions. It's not easy to make the lowest cost one. It is not. It's easy to make the top ones. Because why? They generally are expensive and they can meet a lot of standardization. So what is happening? Europe makes fantastic cars. BMWs, Mercedes, Audi. What does US make? Computers, laptops. That sells in millions and billions. So I think it's a circle of vicious, it's feeding itself. Invention, standardization, and M1, M2 product. And Europe is not able to break away from this circle. This is my observation. Osram has brought me from US because we did innovation, it's a groundbreaking innovation. We have unveiled this in the Lighten Building Fair a year ago and we came in the top 10. It was one of my innovation. There is a small inventions there, but it's mostly innovation. I was really amazed. They brought me here and they have now let me be free and said, okay, you know what, that's a nice innovation. Let's see what more. Yep, now the mind is changing. The next thing we're innovating is even bigger. We first made an innovation to make a linear light. Now we're saying we want to innovate and change the way the light fits in every room, every building, every car. But how do you make it? What is the simple idea that leads to modular manufacturing? In order to make M3 product, let's go back to M3. You've got to have some modular manufacturing. You've got to have, you must have people that can see inventions and just pick from what, I hear Mauro said, you don't need inventions to drive innovation. Please don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you need inventions. But again, there is quite a lot of stuff you can do with existing inventions and with a little bit of tweak. I use the word optimization for that. So that's the two problems I have highlighted. My way of making the change. I came to Italy. Italy is a very inspiring city for me. It is. You will not believe the first product I am innovated here. I named it Galileo. So some of us are familiar with the word in Osram. So what I would like to, while I've said and allow this team of people to work on my inputs, but my way of making the change is as follows. Because I work in so many different countries, I believe if you want to make a product in Europe, you have to combine the best resources from all over the world. Don't limit to Europe. Because in Europe, it might not be good to make plastics, or it might not be good to make conductive inks. It might not be, because there's somebody in Japan that might be already doing it for a very low cost. So when you say Europe, we have to enhance Europe. And the way to enhance Europe might be to look outside and bring the knowledge and the infrastructure to really make changes. So this is what I'm trying to do in Osram, and I think I believe we are on the path to achieving this. And to answer Lola's question, in Osram Treviso, exactly what we are doing, what Lola has mentioned. We are inspired to find the right people. We're not stopping to come to CNR and say, CNR, we recognize the problem, help us. But I also want to point out, there's another problem that you have to solve. I pointed out 2 problems. There's a third one you have to solve. And I'm facing the problem right now. You have companies that want to work with non-disclosure agreements, confidentiality, exclusivity, because and in Europe it's a lot, because you do a lot of inventions. But when you bring that knowledge outside to more parties, that feeling of, no, I want to keep it, most companies want to feel that way. So how do you create an environment how can you create an environment that innovation that can be taken from a company and brought outside, yet giving the company the benefits of succeeding the fullest extent, and also achieving another piece of pie that was not even there to begin with. So that is another thing, because most companies, I think they want to keep, in Europe especially, they want to keep know-hows, they want to keep secrecy, they want to keep this. In US, I want to tell you, there is my last comment also is innovation can also, inventions can also be, again, with a grain of salt, can be counterproductive. Because once you invent and you IP it stops others from, they have to license from you. So look at the computer destroy. Why is this such a huge market? Why are people, it's a company's getting richer and richer and they're making enormous profit. I'm pleased to say that in the company I worked last, Western Digital, they were nearly bankrupt about 15, 20 years ago. They turned around. Today it's the #1 company in the world. We don't have a lot of, in fact, in my whole work for 10 years in Western Digital, I had only 2 inventions, but we made billions of dollars. The technology that was made, we sell in billions every quarter. So these are the things I wanted to share with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bank. There are great defies, I think, in what Dr. Bank is saying. Professor Nicolais. Thank you. I did enjoy these presentations. I must say a few words I would like to say to Lula, because I think she made a very right comment. Europe understood that we need a change, very complete change. I'm saying Italy, I don't know if, I'm not sure that really understood the point. Because the idea of writing a national research program that is almost a copy of an European program means that we are not clear what is the meaning of Europe, Italy, and regions. Because we need to express our strength and try to write something which is in accordance with the European program, but that is different than the German program or the French program or the English program. I think we need to write something that tries to just strengthen principally what are the needs of the country and the strength of the country. This is something that should be done like that. Also, I think it has been discussed that Europe has a clear idea of having the application, let's say, the innovation as the final goal, but the countries has also to try to invest in blue sky research in order to be ready for the future. If we just invest on something that we know what is the needs for today, we never be ready if the needs change. We don't have the knowledge that can help us to change just the road. And this is something that should really work. And also it's important to have the 3 different levels. Let's say the research governance should be in a chain. Europe as a policy, the national government as a policy, and the regions as a policy. As Patrizio was saying earlier, now the region is also investing in the technological demonstrator
in something that is closer to the industry, giving to industry the possibility of the small and medium-sized industry, of course, the possibility of just interact with more advanced technology that is available in the specific area. This is, you need this just to increase the competitivity of a territory. And I think all the chain is important that have the different roles. And also I appreciated very much what you said on that Europe is driven by academia. If Europe is driven by academia, Italy is much more driven by academia, I must say, and I'm a professor, so I speak against myself, because I really feel that there is a mentality that the only people that know what we will need or what we need is a professor in general, because he knows the field, he is a very good expert, and he knows what's going to happen in the future, which is not true. Which is not true. I think that the activity of a professor is crucial for the country, but the importance of industries is also crucial, because they know the market, they know what was happening, they know what will change. I also, from the research point of view, in CNR, I have insisted that if there is a spin-off of a research activity, the company should have as a president someone who comes from industry, not a researcher. Because any researcher will think that the product that he has developed is the best in the world, which is very natural. So he thinks that it's the best, but it could be possible that it's not the time for that product, it's possible that the cost is not competitive with others. There are many other values that should be taken into account. So you need, if you start with a company, you need an interaction between someone that comes from industry with someone that comes from academia or research centers. Because that's a possibility of success. There's no other way. And all these things we should really push in order to try really to also change in Italy. Also, the competition is global, you were saying, which is something totally true, but I don't think that we should concentrate on Italy or Europe or a region. We should be globally, especially if we speak about competition. If I can acquire a company that is in Taiwan, I go to Taiwan and I take the company, which is the way how the world works should be much more open than only Europe. But what I feel that Europe lately has done a very important program, this Horizon 2020, and also the structural funds for developing regions, because they indicated that in developing regions, the first mission is to increase the competitivity of the territory through innovation and research, which is a correct line: competitivity, innovation, research. And innovation, we should understand that is not a technology. You don't buy innovation. You just have to have the mentality of an innovator. Innovation is innovator is someone who puts in discussion everything, doesn't say that this is a good market, so we have to do like that. No, we say perhaps in future this will not have a good market. There will be another one that will have a good market. So you have to have the mentality of to be able to put in discussion everything. I say for the student, the student that is an innovator is the student that doesn't believe in what is written in the books. He has to discuss what is written in the books. And the example of materials, we learned that the Mendeleev table give a property to a specific elements. Now with nanotechnology, for a single element, we can change totally the properties. Because we have technologies that change completely the way how to look. So the table has a third dimension. And so you have to put in discussion everything. If you are an innovator, you can be an innovator in marketing, innovator in research, innovator in the industry. You are someone that really doesn't stay with the ES, but is looking ahead and what you think that should be and try to really make an improvement. And that's something that we still need to develop here in Italy. We are working on it, but still we are very much linked on what was the past and not so much on what will be the future, which is an important issue. The past is important. I don't say we have to cancel the past. It's important because the data bank is in the past, but what is the future is the capability of have a vision of what will come in the future.
I think we shouldn't be too shy, and I want to put it a little bit into perspective. I think in the field of photonics, Europe is operating from very strong positions. So we are market leaders in many important markets. So laser manufacturing, we have more than 50%. And I'm not so much afraid of US, and we are actually have outperformed the US in the last 10 to 15 years. So that's not our main competitor. Now they've invested 600 million in the manufacturing field for photonics. But I'm more shy on or more afraid of Asian competitors. So it's South Korea, it's Taiwan, it's China, it's Japan. They are really good in speeding up production processes. They are much better than Europe is. And these are our main competitors, I would say. And we have lost the display field, for instance, completely. And what I said before, I think we need to make choices. So 2 years ago or so, we had a big initiative driven by some academic players. They wanted to build up a flat planet display production in Europe. It's completely nonsense, we believe, because this has gone forever. It will not come back. So, and this is what I'm saying. We need to make choices. We need to stay where are we strong and where are we good. And it's probably not the consumer products. I don't know. In some areas, probably. But also what you call M1 and 2 can be, I think, can be products for Europe. And Europe can earn with these products. So in the optical components field, in the medical technology field, we are really, really good. And we are innovating, right? So I think we shouldn't be too sharp. So, but we need to focus how to become better.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who want to have a reply? Dr. Lenk.
I just want to add a comment on, I think the president of CNR said it very nicely. I personally I have a fear in me right now. This big plan is, do we have innovators? Do we have innovators in Europe? Do we have enough of them? Because it's not easy to take inventors and turn them into innovators. It is a quality, it's a breed of people that have grown over Taiwan. You just said Taiwan came so fast. So maybe you should, this team should look at how do you promote, not as much innovation, but go to the innovators first. Thank you.
Thank you. What Dr. Wilkinson was saying is a very good cue, hint for the second person I'd like to propose you, because I want to ask you to make further. What I asked first was, what are your needs? What do you think other people around this table can ask you? The second is, what do you think you could give them and they don't know you can? Okay, so I think it could be interesting, as we are saying, you have something more to do for the other players than they expect you can. And probably this could be a good occasion to say this to the others. Want to be first? Professor Nicolai. I'm in that position to answer. What do we need? We need that someone who's just developing rules understands this position. You know, if you want to be a researcher at Siena, you go through what we call in Italy a concorso. The concorso asks normally what you have done, not the capability of you that you can have, which is something very unusual. In the United States, the problem is different, because someone sees a good scientist, feels that that scientist has the vision, the capability that could become a good researcher, and it just appointed. That's something that we cannot do. That's one of the points that makes us in a difficult way, because we are used to just evaluate the past. We are not used to evaluate the future, because we don't trust the person. The problem is just we have a lack of trusting. We don't trust the people in each other. That's one point. What we can give? We can give a lot, because we can give the knowledge that we develop. And if we are able to change the mentality, that we are putting more attention on how to use the knowledge, we can have a very good, we can give really a very good help to the country, because we can offer our knowledge, which is what I was saying earlier, is the social role of the researcher. We can just offer what we have developed with the idea of how could be used the knowledge that we have developed. No one more than the person that has developed something can see if he's interested in it, what this can do in the real market. That's what I feel. I don't think that we have to become industrialists, all of us, but we can speak with the industrialists and show the vision from the point of view of a researcher, which is different. Then we have a discussion and see if it can be used or not. So these are the 2 points that we should try to change. We need more freedom. That's the first thing that I feel. We need more freedom, more trust among ourselves. In Italy, this is more difficult than in Germany, for example. If I compare how we are able to get people and compare with Max Planck Institute or with Fraunhofer, is totally different. If I see her that I like very much because she could be a beautiful scientist that can offer a salary that is twice than other salaries, I cannot do it. Yeah, it's difficult, I cannot do this. And this doesn't give you the possibility of giving to them the incentives to really be the best. Because if they work hard and being the best, it's mainly for themselves, for themselves. And that's what I feel is a bad in Italy. And also in Italy, the problem that we have is also with companies, because we don't have many companies that are interested to innovation. They speak about innovation. If you open a newspaper for the last 5 years, you find innovation in any page. Innovation, we are perfect innovators, how good is innovation? I don't think that many people understand what is the meaning of innovation. That's my point. And I think we should work on it, because really innovation is also, when you start with innovation, it's also something that's difficult. Because if you do incremental innovation, you try to make better what you already do. But if you go in the radical innovation, you have to have a very high courage to try to go in this radical innovation, because you don't know market, you don't know the answer of the possible the people that can buy your product. You don't know many things, and that's something very difficult to evaluate. Thank you. Professor Bianchi, you told about the network you're trying to create in the region and other important things you're trying to do. Do you think this is perceived correct way from the other players?
Yeah. So let me go back to what Professor Nicolai said, that essentially innovation is a collective action. It's not an individual attitude. Is a collective action, so that the capacity to organize the collective action is the real key for success. Of course, you have to take into account that the contexts are different, so that in some areas much more difficult than in the others. But in any case, you have on one side to have very clear in mind the real objective of your action. Is our action is not just to promote development, but in high qualified development. That means based on more capacity of the people and more capacity to respond to the emerging needs of society. That is if the real key of horizon. This is the point. The emerging needs, not also the historic needs. It seems to me that the capacity to organize collective structure, you can call it network, you can call it district, you can call it réseau, as you like it. But the problem is efficiency stems from specialization on one side, a complementary searching on the other side. We consider in this country for many, many years that complementary searching was just based on history, as Gino said. We are living in the same area, Florence. We are sitting, I don't know why Florence. Florence. We are living close to Bologna. Now we have to build up networks which are also transnational, able to interconnect people and a real complementarity. So there is a strong tendency to have on one side the capacity to establish in one area